Some plants that give us nice architectural form in the garden are the yuccas. These plants sometimes go by names like beargrass, soapwort, soapweed, Spanish dagger, or sword plant. The plant gets its name soapweed because it contains saponins, and the roots of yucca were dug and used by Native Americans and early settlers to make soaps and shampoos. You can take the flowers of yucca and put them in salads. Some people will take these petals and put a few in their salad to make it a little more colorful. But you don't want to eat too many yucca flowers because they can have a laxative effect. You can see how the plant gets its name Spanish dagger or sword plant because of the shape of the leaves. They're flat, they're long and tapered, and they have a sharp point. There are some species that are so stiff they can be actually dangerous out in the garden. There are 40 species of yucca total, and they're only native to the United States, Mexico, and a few Caribbean islands. In Oklahoma, we have 3 species of yucca that are represented here. The most common being Yucca glauca. We see it pretty much throughout the state. The yuccas range in size from small rosette-forming perennials all the way up to 40-foot tall trees like the famed Joshua trees out west in the Mojave Desert. So there's quite a range of these plants. Well, yuccas are worth growing for their foliage alone, but a lot of gardeners really enjoy the flowers. They have just these incredibly large inflorescences, just a really large, huge panicle of flowers here. You get quite a number of these beautiful white or creamy colored flowers in the late spring. If you keep these stalks cut off once they're finished, they will sometimes reward you with another stalk or 2 of flowers throughout the summer into the fall. A very interesting thing about the yucca flowers is that they can only be pollinated by one type of insect, the yucca moth. The female yucca moth has specially designed mouth parts, which only it can use to pollinate the yucca flower. In return, the yucca moth will lay her eggs inside the flower near the ovary, and then when the pods develop on the yucca, the larvae hatch out and they eat some of those seeds. So it's a symbiotic relationship. The yucca moth or the yucca could not survive without the other. A really neat way that nature takes care of itself. It's interesting that some of our yuccas, when taken over to Europe and grown there, where there aren't any yucca moths, don't produce any seeds, unless of course they're hand pollinated. This particular species of yucca is Yucca filamentosa, sometimes called the Adam's needle yucca, and you kind of see how it gets its name filamentosa because down here on the margins of the leaf you have sort of filamentous threads right here that kind of spin off the margin of the leaf. One way you can tell the Yucca filamentosa or Adam's needle yucca. The Yucca filamentosa is native to the southeastern part of the United States, and that is sort of a reason that some of these plants will become yellow in soils here in central Oklahoma and maybe out in western Oklahoma is because, contrary to what a lot of people believe, all yuccas are not desert plants that are native to maybe the southwestern part of the United States. So they can handle more moisture, and some of these more eastern species do need a better soil. So we don't get that yellowing of the foliage. But these are native to the southeastern part of the United States, the Yucca filamentosa, and they make a really good display. We've got one growing here in our butterfly garden because the nectar is also enjoyed by several species of butterflies. A particular cultivar of the Yucca filamentosa that I really like is this one. It's called Color Guard, and it has the same wonderful white flowers, but the thing I like about it is this beautiful variegation we've got down here. We see some yuccas that have stripes or variegation on the outside of the leaf. This one is very showy. It's got that gold color in the center of the leaf. We saw a variety a while back on our show called Garland's Gold that had similar variegation. But the Color Guard yucca, very nice architectural type plant for the perennial garden. A little bit larger yucca, that's one of the most common yuccas in the landscape nursery industry, is this one. This is Yucca gloriosa, the mound lily yucca. And this one has flowers that are very similar to Yucca filamentosa. And like Yucca filamentosa, this one's also native to the southeastern United States. So another yucca that is not a desert southwestern species. The flowers are very similar to Yucca filamentosa, and you can see that this flowering stalk right here has just finished blooming, it's dropped all of its flowers. And like I mentioned earlier, if we cut these away, they'll be more likely to develop a new flower stalk and bloom a little bit more throughout the rest of the season. But I really like this yucca. It's a little bit larger. This yucca has blue-green leaves, so it gives a little bit of that color in the landscape, but a very popular yucca that I like very much sometimes goes by the common name Spanish dagger. The mound lily, Spanish dagger, Yucca gloriosa. Perhaps my favorite plant that goes by the name yucca is this plant right here. This is the red yucca, but it's interesting in that the plant is not really red and it's not really a yucca. This is the Hesperalo, and it's in the agave family with the yuccas, so they're very similar, but it is a different genus. It's got these beautiful coral pink flowers that have sort of yellow centers. And this is a plant from the Southwest. It's native to Texas and northern Mexico. A very tough, very drought-tolerant plant. It can handle poor alkaline soils, no water, and it performs brilliantly. These plants have leaves that are a little bit different than yuccas. The yucca leaves, remember, were flat. These are a little bit cupped and rounded, a little bit thicker. So that's one of the differences right there in the red yucca. This is one of those plants, if you're looking for a totally maintenance-free plant, just plant it out somewhere, water it a little bit to get it established, and then just leave it alone, and this is what it rewards you with. Beautiful plant right here, the red yucca. Well, you might consider some of these yuccas for planting in your landscape.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.